Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Is the presentation up? All right. Yeah. All right. My name is Brett Morrison. I'm here for TrueVote, and it's time we vote on our phones. So, who am I? I'm a serial entrepreneur, computer scientist. I have started 4 companies, including this one. This one, I think, will be my last. I'm dedicating the rest of my life to make voting accessible for everyone on their phones. So, prior to this, I started a company called eMemories.com, which was early in the photo sharing space. Back in 1998, who would have known people wanted to share photos on the internet? And that was a little bit too early. Digital camera proliferation hadn't making any inroads yet. It was too early in those days, but eventually people caught on, and by 1999, 2000, photo sharing was a thing, and I was early in it. After that, it should be on the About Us slide. The About Us slide? Yeah, okay. After that, I started an e-commerce company called One Stop Internet here in Los Angeles. We had, at our peak, about 280 employees, and we did $1 billion of e-commerce transactions through that platform that I built from scratch. This was before the days of Shopify and Squarespace. These things didn't exist, and so I built it myself, and we had a warehouse in Compton, and we did pick, pack, and ship, and fulfillment, and photography, and all the things that an e-commerce site needs to sell direct to consumers. And then I worked at SpaceX. So I worked at SpaceX recently and learned a lot there working for Elon. I was in charge of all their in-house enterprise systems. So I've been coding since I was 12, and that's what I love to do, and I haven't stopped. My co-founder, Ped Hasid, is also in the Bitcoin space for a long time, very skilled in IT and finance, and he's a great complement to me on the business side. And then we have a partner, Global Election Services. So this company's been around since the early 80s. It's a family business, and they do private elections. They've been doing it all over the country, labor unions, all sorts of organizations where they have to run elections, and they outsource it to this company. They're a strategic partner, and they're a customer ready to go as soon as we are. Next slide. So elections are broken, and TrueVote fixes this. So voter turnout is low because it's difficult to vote. People don't want to stand online. They don't want to fill out mail-in ballots. They don't want to deal with it. And we're seeing that more and more with the younger generations. They just want to use their phone. So TrueVote fixes this. You can vote on your phone. So it solves that problem. Voters have no idea what happens to their ballot once submitted. So today, when you submit your ballot, you can track it. You can see that it was received by the county, but you really don't know what happened to your ballot. You don't know if it was ever counted. We need a digital system where you could look and see that your vote was indeed part of the aggregate count. TrueVote fixes that. So we have a ballot explorer, similar to, we've all used blockchain explorers for Bitcoin. We have a ballot explorer. You can find your ballot online and see who you voted for and confirm that they did indeed receive your ballot properly. Election counting. We're seeing this week some elections are having trouble counting their ballots, and with the digital system, you don't have to worry about that. It's just a dashboard, and you can see the votes coming in real time, and you know they're accurate. Today's election counting procedures are arcane and very prone to fraud. TrueVote fixes that. The other thing is, the last one, voting systems are secret black holes. So voting electronic systems have been around for decades, but they're black boxes. Nobody knows how they work. They're closed source. TrueVote's not like that. We are open source. We're not trying to protect any intellectual property. We're just trying to build good voting software. Same ethos as Bitcoin is trying to build a new financial system. TrueVote is building a new voting system. Next slide. So 2 approaches, our platform and our sales. What are we building? Our platform is a series of dashboards and an app where someone could easily download and find their election and vote. And we're connecting their TrueVote user ID with their voter registration ID. That's how we know that they're an eligible voter. And I'm building it multilingual from the beginning. So when I started the company, I knew that there was so much more than just the United States. Everyone always thinks of the United States elections and just what's right in front of them. But really, there's a whole world of election opportunity where elections are not secure all over the place. So they all need a new voting system too, all over the world. So I'm building it multilingual, multicultural right from the beginning. I'm not going to build just an English site. It's going to be for everybody. And then the sales approach, I'm happy to say that as a startup, we have a customer already waiting. So GAHC, the election partner, they're waiting for us. We just have to build the product, and they will start deploying it in their elections immediately. So excited about that, knowing that we have a customer. And my approach is going to be, we're going to start with private elections, small elections, and then work our way up to governmental elections, state, county, and then eventually national. That's how we'll grow. And I can foresee a future where 2028, maybe, presidential election, that's 6 years away. We've got a shot if we hustle and work hard. Next slide. So there's a screenshot on the right. You can see a mock-up of the Ballot Explorer where you can see your vote. The voting platform is going to be a mobile app, an election configuration dashboard, so an election administrator can go on, create an election, import their voter registration rolls, a ballot explorer, and then an election explorer, so you can view the results in real time, see who's winning. Depending on the election, some elections are closed until the time is up for you to vote. So in those cases, it would say, please come back at 9 p.m. and you can see the results. So I want to keep it very simple. The app has to work for all sorts of ages and demographics. I can't build something complex. You're going to be able to just log in, find your election, and submit your ballot. Super extreme focus on the user experience. And I'm not going to be distracted by, I already have people coming up to me asking, what about partnering with this, that? Not until we have a product. So once we have a product, I'll start having those conversations. Next slide. So right now, like I said, I'm a computer scientist. I'm building this myself. There's only so many hours in a day I can work on it. I'm maxed out, so I am going to be hiring some people, and I listed kind of who we're looking for additional hires. And I feel like with these 4 hires, I can do a lot to build the product, and it will happen faster. It will happen one way or the other, but it will happen faster as I add to the team. And I've been running software teams my whole career, so I just have to get going on it. So that's it. And so people ask me, when's it going to be ready? When's it going to be ready? We'll probably have a beta in the spring. I've been working on it all year, and it's coming together nicely. We have a GitHub account. You can see the open source code is already there. I'm pushing commits all the time. I just need to push it faster and make it happen faster. And then we'll start using it all. So I wrote a white paper describing how the data in the vote, your ballot cannot be tampered, and I'm using the Bitcoin blockchain for that, and I explain exactly how in the white paper that's on our website. There's a core developer named Peter Todd who was around in the early days of Bitcoin, and he created something called open timestamps, which is a way of hashing data against the Bitcoin blockchain to prove that data was indeed what it is at that point in time. So I'm using that technique to prove that your ballot was not altered. So that's how it all ties into Bitcoin, and I'm so happy to be part of this community. I'm an early Bitcoiner. I've been around since 2013, tweeting about Bitcoin, talking about Bitcoin, and I knew that there was a need to have people vote, and I figured there's got to be a way to prove that the data's not been altered and people can feel confident knowing that their ballot wasn't changed, and this is really the only way to do it. So that's why I felt inspired to write that white paper and prove that there is a way to make voting secure, and this is how to do it. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions and comments. Thank you.
Hey, Brett. I guess with the timer going, thank you. I think this is really interesting and clearly you're hitting a time, right, in society where lots of questions about this are being asked. So I think you're trying to solve a problem. I think that everybody in the room probably recognizes as a real one. My question, like, if in any election, would the entire election have to be done using this platform? And what would you do with people who don't want to use their phone? Like, how do those people still get to exercise their franchise?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've heard that one before. It's a natural one. There will be a hybrid time where there are people voting the traditional way because they're not comfortable yet voting online, and it will be inevitably up to the people creating the election to make that decision. They may say at some point, years in the future, the only way to vote in this election is TrueVote. But I think in the early days, it's going to be a hybrid, and we'll aggregate the counts of the traditional way with the TrueVote way, and the combination of the two will be the count. That's how I see it playing out. Yeah.
What is the feedback you're getting from the people who run elections, i.e. politicians and government entities, around whether they want to use digital voting and why they would want to use a product like this?
A lot of initial skepticism, because there's a lot of political forces that don't want it to be easy for people to vote. I ignore that. I really don't care. I don't want to hear about voter suppression. I don't want to hear that this can't happen. I know it can, and we have to make it happen. So the people that really understand software are all for it. The people that don't understand software think, oh, it'll never work. There has to be paper ballots. I just don't see that as scalable in our digital age. We do everything else on our phone. I just think voting is kind of the last thing that isn't digital and online properly. So it seemed to me like an incredible niche that I had to fill. So I think when I build the software and it's good enough, it will succeed. In the same ethos as Bitcoin did. It's like Bitcoin there were other monetary systems before it, but Bitcoin proved that you can make it work. So that's what I intend with TrueVote. Yeah.
Do you envision a version of this that allows people to go into the polling place, votes anchored to the Bitcoin blockchain, and monitorable through a phone or online because you understand what you signed with, but would actually conform to governmental election standards? Because currently, and I'm a bit skeptical for the reasons that Andy kind of alluded to. I think kind of a follow-up question would be, do you have a sense of the sizing of the market for non-governmental elections where you could actually grow this pretty rapidly? Because if you don't have control of the elections, a lot of people would say, look, if you have a mobile device and you're out having drinks and someone has a strong opinion and it influences you to cast at that moment, maybe that's not the best approach to the expansion of voting. So I'm just saying there's going to be some pushback there. And so where's the market, assuming that doesn't work, or maybe it's a middle ground where you actually go to the polling place and you can monitor mobile? How do you think about all of those kind of factors on the governmental side?
Yeah, I think well, to answer one of your parts of your question, there's so much opportunity in the private election space, and there's a lot of opportunity for revenue because those budgets are pretty big, and we're going to save them money eventually. They're not going to have to staff polling places all over their election. They're not going to have to count votes by hand all night. We are making that easier for them and cheaper for them. So I'll be happy to take a fraction of their budget to help facilitate a TrueVote election, and they'll be happy because they're paying less. There will be a kiosk version of TrueVote where someone could walk into a public place and vote via our system, and we already spec that out. We have screen mock-ups ready to go for that. I think it's going to be met with a lot of skepticism at first, and that's why I have to build a system that is super high standards from a software quality level, and I'm going to be applying all the knowledge I have from working at SpaceX and the Bitcoin core community and building software the right way, multilingual, that it can't be hacked. That is going to be a huge challenge, and I've already started on it. So, yeah.
We're at time.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks.